You'll never guess, Dan. I had a really weird encounter at a Christmas party the other night where I met someone that you knew that I didn't know, but they knew who I was. And
Oh,
someone
I
who is
did
a
hear about
fan,
this.
who's a fan of the
Yes,
show.
I
So,
did hear
am
about
I an
this. Yes, he
influencer
told me.
now? Yeah,
Maybe, maybe, yeah. It was my my mate Ed from uni, yeah, and he
yeah,
recognised you from, which is pretty remarkable. Yeah.
yeah. I had a picture and
Celebrity
everything. It
burn.
was like I felt like a celebrity. It was
Yeah, he
amazing.
sent me a photo of you two at your Christmas do because like you
Yeah,
two happen to work together.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I thought it was quite nice. You are an
yeah.
influencer now. Big shot. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Second City podcast. My name is Daniel Sketchley.
And I'm Callum Dan.
It's lovely to have you with us. It's been a couple of weeks we've been away for, but delighted to be back. How are you, Cal? Keeping okay?
Yeah, not too bad. It's proper like Christmas season now, isn't it? So,
Yeah, yeah.
and the football is thick and fast, and the Christmas parties are thick and fast as well. So,
Yeah, I think I was saying to you whenever I last saw you, like, you go like a while without anything really, you're kind of quiet, not much really going on. I feel like November and early part of December for me have just been, I don't know about you, it's just been, obviously we went on holiday early November. I think it's about a month since we got back, and it's just been like non-stop
it's
since.
non-stop. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard. I kind of feel like I've had my big like end of year like mad brush, and it's like well, December the 6th we're recording this. But similarly with the football as well, like you say, it's been a little. We're kind of glad to squeeze a pod in here. We appreciate that if you're listening to this, we're recording this on Friday night, which is a bit of an odd day for us to record on. We don't normally do it on a Friday night, but it's just kind of been squeezing it in. Obviously, Blues have been playing twice a week, every week for weeks now. I think Villa have been as well. You played on what, Wednesday as well?
The last four games has been like a midweek weekend, and it's going to be again next
Yes,
week as well.
same for us. So we're not gonna. This one's gonna be a little bit different. We'll do what we're wearing as normal, and then we're gonna do a bit of a sort of general roundup of the last few weeks whilst we've been away and haven't been, I mean the games we haven't talked about yet. We probably won't do too much of a preview to the games on Saturday because obviously by the time people listen to this, those games have probably happened. So we're not going to spend too long on that. But otherwise, should be really good. So thank you for coming along and joining us. So Cal, shall we get into what we're wearing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we'll start guessing by your shirt first this week, Dan,
Yep.
because you are not wearing a blue shirt.
I'm not
You're
wearing a blue
wearing
shirt.
a Celtic shirt. It's an anniversary kit by the looks of things. It'll be a
Yes.
125th anniversary, maybe.
100 and oh no, it's not it's a 50th anniversary kit, not of the founding of the club though. So it
Uh,
says 50th anniversario. Uh
oh, is it for the
oh gosh.
stadium?
Dude, let me have a look. No. I can tell you though. But do you want to guess the year of the kit that might give you Oh well, I mean,
I mean, it's a
if I tell
Celtic
you the
shirt that,
anniversary,
yeah,
yeah.
well, it's a Celtic shirt that is just, it could be any year. It's
Tell you
green
what,
and white hoops.
I'll give you a clue. So the badge has a one star above it,
Mhm.
and it says Lisboa 50th anniversary.
So it'll be whenever they won the European Cup for the first time. So,
Yes.
which probably would have been, so I think we're going to guess the kit year. It's going to be around 2015. May be my rough guess, I think.
You're close. This was the 2017-18 home Celtic shirt. A sponsor Villa obviously know well, Daffabet. And New Balance, the kit maker.
It's
And
right there.
then, yes, yeah. And then, yeah, so this is the 50th anniversary of the Lisbon Lions, who won, they were the first British team, sorry, to win the European Cup, what is now the Champions League in the 1968. Um, so yeah, this is the 50th anniversary. Why am I wearing a Celtic shirt though,
Well,
Cal? Why
this was
could I be
what I was
wearing a
going to
Celtic
say,
shirt?
Dan. I know why you're wearing a Celtic shirt, but no
Yes.
one else does. So
No one else
do
does.
enlighten
No.
them.
Yeah, so it's nice for us to catch up on this because we both in the same night went to a Champions League game, didn't we? But
Yeah, but
not in separate
as is
stadiums.
well known, Birmingham City
Yeah.
don't play in the Champions League.
No, although we were the first British team to play in the in European competition, I believe. So there.
Put it in the
No, a
trophy
couple of weeks
cabinet.
ago, yeah, absolutely. We came very close. We played I think is it Barcelona beat us in the final, so of the Intercities Fairs. Anyway, moving on. This is yeah, Celtic shirt. So a couple of weeks ago, obviously the night Villa played Juventus, you went to that, and I
Yeah.
found out just a few days before that I was going to get to go to Celtic Bruges in Glasgow up at Celtic Park. Shout out to the Duffy clan who set me up with that, and Sean who sorted us with the tickets. That's very nice of him. Yeah, just had a fun little trip up to Glasgow for a few days, and I think we went up on the Tuesday, went to the game on the Wednesday night, and then came back on the Thursday. It was all a bit last minute. Ticket came up. Um, I'd never been to Glasgow at all. Never done Celtic Park, so really, great experience. And that's all. They do the whole "you'll never walk alone" before kickoff and all that. And yeah, that was pretty special. It wasn't like an amazing game, but finished
I don't
1-1 for
know. You did
context.
see one incredible own goal.
Yes, the game will be remembered, at least for those who were there, for Cameron Carter-Vickers with an iconic. It kind of reminded me of. Do you remember the Romain Sawyer's own goal for West Brom against Leeds a
Yeah.
few years ago, where he just clearly just hadn't looked to where his keeper was, and he turns and he just twats the ball into his own net. This one is like Celtic trying to play out from the back, and then yeah, and he Carter Vickers, Casper Schmeichel's kind of torn to the right of his goal, of his his box, waiting for a pass, and Cameron Carter-Vickers just hasn't looked, or he hasn't heard the shout, and he's just turned and kicked the ball into his own net basically. And we were pretty much right behind it as well, like
Yeah.
high up, but yeah, pretty remarkable. But they did get a lovely equaliser. I don't know if you've seen that. It was a very nice equaliser. So yeah, great experience all round, and I just thought it'd be a nice little tribute to get. This is the one Celtic shirt I own, and I think I was with you when I got this actually.
Yes, you were.
You remember it? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
A few of us went. Was it a classic football shirt, like pop-up
Pop-up
shop?
shop, yeah.
It was somewhere in, was it
Li
Shoreditch or something?
Liverpool Street kind of way, yeah.
Liverpool Street. Yeah, that was about 5 years ago, something like that.
It'd be like
It's before
2019, I think.
COVID. Yeah, we spent a weekend at
Yeah.
Will's, didn't we?
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought I'd get that on 2017 and 18 Celtic, and yeah, a nice memory there. So what about you? You're not wearing a Rangers shirt for
No, I
context.
don't own a Rangers shirt either.
No, no, no. You're in a Villa shirt, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Kazoo, Castor, the kit maker. I think it must be very new
It's got
because
this
you've had
nice
Kazoo
sort of
fairly recently.
embossed like chevrons into it for some reason. I don't know why. Uh,
The badge is it's not like it's your last proper badge, not like the
yeah,
round one you had
not the
last
round
year.
one. Yeah.
I'm gonna say it'd be early this decade. I'll say 20. What year are we in now? I'm gonna say 21, 22 home.
Oh, you're so close, Dan. You're a year out. It's 22,
22,
23.
23. Yeah,
Yeah,
thought so. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, there's one of there's always gonna be one of them too. Yeah.
Yeah. So this would be the Steven Gerrard Unai Emery. Yeah. Obviously the shirt as well, where we had the World Cup, um, like a third of the way into the season.
Mm.
But we finished seventh and qualified for the Europa Conference League after a great run in the second half of the year. The first half of the year was dreadful when we had Slippy G in charge because we were rubbish. I think we picked up two wins in I don't know how many games he had. He must have had about 10 games. And we beat Everton under Frank Lampard. And I remember BT Sports at the time having this big like ad campaign as like Gerrard versus Lampard, like Clash of the
Yeah.
Titans, and it's Villa versus Everton. Um,
Sure.
and then we had another win against Southampton, who went down that year as well. They finished rock bottom and were absolutely rubbish. I remember watching that game against Southampton. I was watching it in Ireland, and it was so boring. Like there was family round, and like you're only sort of half watching it. We won 1-0. Nothing happened. It was like the most nil-nil boring game you'll ever watch. Um, but I had some great memories in this shirt. I remember I think it's the last away day I've done as of late was Leicester away at the back end of the season. That game had been cancelled and postponed because the Queen had died when Steven Gerrard was the
Oh,
manager.
right. Yeah.
And then was replayed in like April or something like that. And we were drawing 1-1, and Bertrand Traore out of nowhere comes off the bench and scores an absolute worldie to make it 2-1. It was an amazing away day. My away day record is terrible, so this was a really that's a real top tier memory away at Leicester. So lovely kit. I must have spoken in the end of season review about the Castor shirts and how like last year's ones were terrible and the quality was rubbish. But this one, the first one they ever did, that was really good, really nice. And yeah, it's a nice, clean Aston Villa shirt, and it doesn't have a betting sponsor on it, which we do love to see.
Yes. Yes, we
Oh,
did
there's a
with
player on the
Steelers.
back as well. There is a reason I've worn this shirt tonight because there's a player on the back.
Uh, what's going on tonight? Or this week? I don't know. Who would have been your star man? Grealish was still no. Grealish had just left.
Grealish had gone a couple of years before. Yeah,
Oh, did he? What year did Grealish go? 21.
he went in the summer of 21. Yeah.
Oh wow, like, God, that's mad. That's mad. He's been like how long ago? Like, where's time like going? Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea who it could be.
It is the man himself, Dan.
Oh, Tyrone Mings.
Tyrone Mings, because this will take us on very nicely into the Brentford game that's just happened, where Tyrone
Very
Mings was
good.
back and was man of the match as we ended. We've been really good with the podcast. We've managed to completely miss our horrendous run of results somehow.
Yeah, same pretty much.
And so I think it was like 8 games without a win in all competitions. Although you have to count the League Cup, but we didn't take it seriously. We didn't try to qualify through it, so I don't really count that one. But it all kind of stemmed back to when the Bournemouth game where we threw away 3 points in the last second of the game and drew 1-1. And then we didn't win again until
Yeah,
Wednesday night where we beat Brentford, a team who have been a bit of a bogey team for us. Although I don't think we've lost to them at home, but it does. But I mean, our record away from home at Brentford is horrendous. But I remember the first few times we played them, we'd always draw at home and then lose away. And it's only in the
yeah,
last couple of years, actually, under Unai Emery, where we've actually started winning at home to Brentford. Although one of them was under Aaron Danks as well, in that crazy, crazy game. Um, but we've been very inconsistent. And I think back to I think like it was when we spoke after the Bayern Munich game, and you said to me, "Oh, kind of, I thought you'd be more buzzing with your start to the season because we had a really good start to the season, but." In the back of my mind, and all I kept saying was, "We haven't played very well. We haven't played very well. We're making mistakes. We're conceding sloppy goals, and we're coming from behind a lot." And we kind of got it kind of caught up with us really.
mm.
And there's still problems there. We haven't kept a clean sheet in a long, long, long time. I don't think we've kept one this season at all.
Wow, that's mad.
Yeah, I don't think we have. I might be wrong. Happy to be
I'll double
proved
check
wrong.
for you. I'll double
I'm,
check for you.
yeah, I don't think we've kept a clean sheet all year. So,
Well, it's definitely
um,
a problem, regardless. Even if you've kept one or two, it's a clear weakness.
yeah. And even on Wednesday night, we were fantastic in the first half and raced into a 3-goal lead. And we still just found a way to concede a sloppy goal in the second half. And all of a sudden, at 3-0 at home against a team that haven't won away from home all season, one
No,
goal shouldn't
you
make you so wobbly. But
you have kept one clean sheet this season
oh,
in the league.
oh,
Are we
the
talking just the
champions.
league?
I was talking Premier League because, of course, we've kept three in the
You,
Champions League, four
you've
in the
kept
Champions
one in
League.
the Premier League, one in the
Yeah, and
Premier League as well.
4 out of 5 in the Champions League because the
Yeah.
only
So
goal
who
we
who was? Can you remember who your one in the league was against?
one in the league wasn't Leicester because we conceded there. Um,
It was one of the proverbial big boys. 6th of October.
Oh, it was Man United. It was that dull
It was,
0-0
yeah.
against Man
Well, yeah, it
United.
was
Yeah, I should
terrible.
know I was
Yeah.
there. God,
Awful game.
that was an
Yeah.
awful game.
Mm.
Yeah, but like in the Champions League, we've kept clean sheets for fun, but the style of football is a bit different in Europe. It's and of course, even though it's in a league phase, you are kind of every game is kind of like a knockout game. They're all
Yeah, of
free
course, yeah.
hits, and so um, I don't know. It's a bit like when you watch international football. It's a bit more defensive for the most part because the games don't tend to be that high scoring. So, but yeah, it's one of those where we've kept clean sheets for fun in that competition, and then we can't keep clean sheets against Brentford and Bournemouth and Ipswich. And there's no disrespect to those clubs at all. It's just a problem that we haven't kept clean sheets. Full stop. So,
Yeah.
um, but we played well enough and probably not back to our best, but it does feel all of a sudden that became one of those games where if we'd have lost, maybe even if we'd drawn, the negativity and that feeling of everything falling apart and everything going wrong, even though that wasn't the case, would have been it just every game was becoming there's more pressure going on each game that was following this really bad run. And so all of a sudden there's like a weight's been lifted. We're looking ahead to Southampton on Saturday, and all of a sudden it's we've got the Champions League game away at Leipzig, and everything just seems a little bit brighter again. Even though it's kind of all relative because, a draw at home to Juventus, while they weren't, they came for a draw. They were very weak with injuries and what have you. To get a 0-0 draw at home to Juventus is a bloody good result in the Champions League. We threw the game against Palace in the League Cup, so you know you can or can't count that depending on what you want to do. We played badly and got a draw at home to Crystal Palace in the league where we had to come from behind twice. So really, that was kind of like a point gained. And then you've got the Bruges game where we didn't play well and we should have taken a point, and the only goal of the game was Tyrone Mings literally picking the ball up by accident. So you kind of when you add some context into the run, it maybe wasn't as bad and as desperate as people seem to make out. And obviously the league is so congested at the moment, as we've mentioned before, because the games it's been so stop start with the international breaks. So no one's got any momentum, and we've seen Manchester City go through a tough run as well, which ended for them on Wednesday night as well. I cannot believe it, Dan. If you just said to me that we were going to match Manchester City for 8 games in a row in all competitions, I'd have been
Yeah.
rubbing my hands. Here comes the title race. Start
Yeah.
engraving that trophy, baby, because we're going to be right up there. And yeah, it turns out we coincided with a crap run for them. So.
Had to be done. So yeah, it's an upturn. How was Juventus the other week? Oh, I wanted to ask when you went.
Oh, it was great. The real downside was that they didn't wear black and white stripes. Just
Yeah, oh, did they wear yellow though? Did they? I didn't see
no,
the
they wore
highlights.
that.
All
I
right.
mean, don't get me wrong, it's that really, really gorgeous third kit they've got this year.
Mm. Oh no, but you want to
But
see the iconic, like,
yeah, like obviously
it's
Bayern's kit this year is all red, so they couldn't have worn that at Villa Park.
yeah,
But
sure.
Juve could have worn black and white stripes. That I'd have liked that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a game where it felt like the goal was coming for us. We did it was really important that we didn't concede early, which we didn't. Emmy made a world class save in the second half. And it just felt like we had a couple of good chances to score. McGinn had a really good chance, and then obviously we had the disallowed goal at the end, which I think is really harsh. And I think that's the overwhelming thought is that the goal shouldn't have been ruled out. But it was so bizarre in the stadium. The referee didn't have a good game in general, to be honest. But yeah, it was a goal because as soon as the ball came in and there was the contact and the ball dropped and Morgan Rogers poked it in, the first thing I thought was, well, that's a foul.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of other people thought that because it was a last minute winner at home to Juventus in the Champions League. And
It's
some
like
people were celebrating, but not going mental. Some people, like
yeah.
me, weren't really celebrating at all because we're looking at the
Oh,
referee going, has he given it? Has he not given it? And so he does point, but well, now with context, we thought he'd given the goal because the way he
hmm.
pointed, but actually he'd given a free kick. Morgan Rogers is celebrating with like 3 other players because all the others are in the box or like so confused as to what's going on. There was no VAR, so
Yeah.
yeah, it was just a mess, really.
Yeah. Why wasn't there VAR? Just
I
not.
have no idea. No idea.
That's strange for a game
There
of
was
that
no
magnitude.
VAR check on it, so I don't know.
Um, One of my pet peeves, I'm not saying this was the case here, but in that it was, and obviously not going to stand. I'm not saying that was the case. But one of my pet peeves is when a goal is the ball goes in the net, but the goal is obviously not going to be given,
Yeah.
but fans cheer, and then they're like, "What?" When the goal,
Yeah.
and when the result is, I was like, come on! If someone's like, I don't know, it's just a nitpick of mine for some reason, really irritates me.
I think it's like kind of like the same when you see with players on the pitch when they absolutely clatter someone and the ref gives a foul and they're like, didn't touch
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
And it's like, well, you obviously
yeah. It's
did.
bizarre.
Like you did touch him,
Yeah,
But I
completely.
guess I guess it's one of those as well. Like I think Joe Cole, who I don't think he's a terrible pundit. He's all right, but
Uh,
he's okay. There are worse pundits
yeah,
than Joe Cole,
yeah, sure,
but like
okay,
he was kind of saying after the game that um like not all the players went over to celebrate, and obviously because the ground people were like, "Oh, was it a foul? Is it not?" You you've got all that doubt in the stadium that the
yeah,
referee can look at it and go, "Well, if you don't think if half the ground thinks that it's a foul, it probably is a
yeah.
foul." As opposed to
No
as
smoke without fire.
if everyone had just gone nuts, all of a sudden you
Yeah.
then give the referee a decision to make.
Yeah, completely.
I don't know, you're kind of, you know, ultimately crowds do have an impact on the way
Oh,
some
of course, yeah.
referees can referee the game, especially, if it's a tough home atmosphere and the crowd feel like everything's going against them and they're on your case, you will maybe give a slightly dodgy penalty or a couple of fouls the
Yeah,
other way,
absolutely, yeah.
or so I think it's been said in the past that maybe as a team we're a bit too nice. I
Mm.
just kind of think, like, let's just say that was Manchester United, not us. You know for a fact that, as much as I hate him, but Bruno Fernandes would have been in the face of the referee. And while I don't want us to be one of those teams that are like our players are abusing referees on the pitch, there's a line, I think, between sticking up
Yeah,
for
yeah,
your teammates as well, and maybe we are a bit too nice or a bit too honest in that regard.
sure. I think
It's just something to think about, really.
I think fans of other clubs might disagree. I think over the years Villa have maybe been one of the more prominent teams for that, especially in the Grealish days. I'm not just
Yeah.
dragging the guy, and like the sort of the Dean Smith days as well. I would disagree back then, certainly.
Hmm.
I think Villa were quite bad for it back then, actually.
Yeah, maybe.
In contrast, I'm going to say Blues were awful for it in terms of we never did it ever, and it really, really bugged me. And we still are. We've gotten better at it, to be fair. We've been better at it this season, but so passive. And like
Yeah.
I talked about it like last season with there was a game where Tyler Roberts, I think, was playing for us, and he'd had a bit of a tiff with one of the Coventry players. I think it might have been Stansfield maybe, and then Tyler Roberts came over and kind of got the ball and carried on. I was like, your teammate's in trouble. Get over there,
Oh yeah, I
get in your
remember this.
man's
Yeah, yeah,
face. I think I said it on the pod. Little things like
yeah,
that. I'm like, where that it's a appropriate use of gamesmanship, in my opinion. That
yeah,
I think Blues were are really lacking in for years. Bit better now, but I think Villa are maybe the opposite. I think it's maybe declined a bit with Villa.
yeah.
But yeah, no, fair enough.
I guess it can come down to the management style as well.
Yeah,
Unai Emery's not the sort of guy to
no, not at all.
shout in officials' faces, or even when we get decisions go against us, he won't moan in his interviews. He'll just say it is what it is. It's the
No, I
referee made the
agree. Yeah, it's
decision.
one thing with him that I do, even as the Villa manager, I do think is quite admirable. And that's something again, not to go off on a tangent, but this sort of trend of, like I think Arteta and Klopp really not started it, but we're really at the fore of this mental on the touchline, like run, this sort of siege. I was never a huge fan of it, but I always felt like, oh, but they're on cap. All their games are televised. They are
Yeah.
like a real figurehead. They're like they're seen all across the world. I can kind of understand it with them. Something I really am not a fan of is seeing it seep down
Yeah.
football, if you know what I mean, or
But it
spread.
naturally
Like,
will. It's like when diving became such a big, and it still is. It's not so much
yeah.
of a problem now, but there was a real point during the mid
Oh yeah.
2010s where, like, you'd have like your Drogba's and your Ronaldo's or whatever would dive, and it just seeps through. I remember
Yeah,
even playing
yeah.
Sunday League and some kids going for a dive, and it's like,
Oh, 100%, and that is a good comparison as well. Like Sunday League managers behave in that way. It's
yeah,
so bizarre, and um, I think like Russell Martin is terrible for it at Southampton. He's such a showman, such a fake show. In my not to slag him off, but that's just my opinion. And me and Will went to Leighton Orient away, and their manager Richie Wellens was just terrible for it. I was
yeah,
like, just this constantly getting in the official's face and being this ridiculous animated figure on the touchline. I think it's just performative. It's not natural. I always felt with like a Mourinho, it was more natural.
yeah,
Um, but anyway, that's a side note.
yeah. Mourinho's like a character anyway. So,
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should move on to Blues anyway,
Yeah.
because uh, you know, we've heard from Christian Bielik and co. You're too good for the league.
Yes.
Everyone's out to get you.
Mm,
How's it going?
yeah. Well, it's kind of similar to you. We kind of dodged the worst of it, but we will go back and recap. I can't remember what the last game was that we did on the pod off the top of my head, but I know that the first game that we missed was the. I don't know. Northampton must have been the last game that we did because we just got back from Vegas, or did we
Yes.
play
Yeah.
again in
Yeah.
between?
It was not long after
Um,
we came back from Vegas.
yeah, we did a couple episodes when we got back from Vegas, didn't we? But so the first game that we missed was the first game of this block. I'm gonna, four games to catch up on basically, and we're kind of similar to you. We weren't on a great run. Had our first sort of sticky patch where we'd drew Northampton, we'd scraped past Sutton in the cup. I think we drew, was it Mansfield away that we drew? Um, and yeah, so a bit of a sticky patch. And obviously, when you've spent as much money as we have and all these expectations, and also just not playing great for a little period there, that but then this was compounded with Shrewsbury away, which would be 2 weeks ago on Saturday. We were I didn't go to the game. I was working, but I had it on. I was kind of keeping tabs on it, and by all accounts, we were dreadful. And like a lot of people said after Charlton, which was our only other loss in the league, people said you won't see us play that bad all season. Again, but by all accounts at Shrewsbury, we did. We were diabolical. Shrewsbury were rock bottom at the time, and I did say on the pod, and I wasn't the only person saying this. Gareth Ainsworth going in there. I know people
Yeah.
take the mick out of Gareth Ainsworth, but I said he's the type of manager who could get them out of that,
Yeah.
and we gave them a win, and by all accounts, they deserved it. I know, giving it a bit of fight at the end, pulled it back to 3-2, but 100% we deserved to lose. The defending, especially for the third goal on our part, was just abysmal. Um, and yeah, it's kind of the first time this season people have really kind of got a bit like really a bit of negativity has kind of taken over a bit, and it's why I'm not criticizing too like I'm not going to get into this too much. Like sort of at the end of Blues games, we do the whole like in front of the Tilton now they do the whole and at away games as well the whole like Chris Davies comes
Fist
over or a player
bumping
comes
and
over and they're like
yeah.
wait wait yeah like Klopp style.
Yeah.
I just find it a bit like I like Chris Davies and I like these players. It's a likable squad, but I'm
Yeah.
like earn that first, like yeah, I don't know. I just think let's do it in March when we're like on the charge to the title or we've just won the EFL trophy or something, hopefully. I just think we're getting ahead of ourselves a bit, and like it's like what you're
I
saying
know what
with
you
Bubik's
mean.
comments and stuff. Yeah, I just find it's not. Maybe that goes back to the slightly performative thing I was talking about earlier. It's just earn it first. Focus on let's like Wickham are on an unbelievable run at the minute. We are far from certain of winning the league this year. If we stick at it, we will, but it's not a guarantee. So yeah, Shrewsbury was not great, but thankfully a couple of days later on the Tuesday night, it was actually happening as we were flying up to Glasgow. We bounced back, far better performance, beat Exeter 2-0 away, who were a good team. I previewed it on the last episode. I think they're in the top 10. Went up there, Iwata and Stansfield scoring again. Stansfield with a penalty, obviously meant a lot to him as well. Has a connection to Exeter, of course, and through his dad and so on. Um, no, a much better performance, much more accomplished by all accounts. It was exactly what we needed, and yeah, really impressive. We're ironically going there again next week in the now newly named Virtue Trophy. It's not the Bristol Street Motors Trophy anymore, Cal.
Have they
They've changed it
changed the sponsor halfway
mid-season.
through?
Yes, but I don't know how it works because Virtu, or have you say it? They are like I think Bristol Street Motors is like a subsidiary of them or something.
Right.
So I
Okay.
don't, I don't know. But yeah, anyway, that was a much improved performance anyway. 3 points on the road did really need it, and just an encouraging performance against Exeter.
So does that mean when you buy your shirt, Dan, have you now got a choice between the Bristol Street Motors patch and the Vertu patch to put on
That's a
the
very,
sleeve? Which one are
that's
you going
a
to go for?
that's a very good point, and I suppose a lot of Blues fans when they bought the new kits this year will have got the Bristol Street Motors. Obviously that would be the one they wanted. Respect for the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, though. At least I'll have that or the Virtue Trophy. I'll have that when we hopefully win it. Oh, we had a good day at the EFL Trophy final last year as well.
I would
Um,
happily go again, unless Blues are in the
so,
final, which
oh yeah. Um, any competition when we get a 7-1 win against some group of teenagers, whatever, I'll take it. Um, but anyway, speaking of cup competition, so we finally got a good win again in the league, kind of back to basics, solid. Um, Much more just accomplished performance. And then obviously we were back in FA Cup action on Sunday. Actually, we played Blackpool away. Steve Bruce's Blackpool. On a side note, great to see Steve Bruce back in the dugout. Obviously, he's had a very rough time of late. So it's good to see that he's doing well, and all our thoughts still with Steve Bruce and his family and so on, of course. Um, and it was nice to see actually the Chris Davies actually mixed the team up quite a bit. Obviously, it's the first time we've played in the FA Cup second round for like 30 years because obviously Premier League and Championship teams don't enter that early. But we had Blackpool away, and the really nice news was that Jukovic started. He hasn't started a game in months. He barely makes the bench for league games anymore, which is a shame. Obviously, he's played for Blues since. I mean, it's mad. I was like 18 or 19 years old when we signed Jukovic. Like, he's been with us like 10 years nearly. He's just my favorite Blues player ever, pretty much, and so it's lovely to see him start a game. and even nicer to see him score a goal. I know it was basically a rebound, but he, reacted quickest and poked it in with his left foot, and that was to make it 2-0. And just before that, Lyndon Dykes had made it 1-0. His first. I know he scored against Fulham under 21s to make it 7-1. I kind of consider this his first goal for Blues, if you know what I mean. It's first.
Yeah,
Technically, it is his second goal, but it kind of feels like his first. That was a really nice attacking strike. Blackpool were much better second half and did get back into it, pulled it back to 2-1, but we saw it out. Yeah, nice to see the team mixed up a little bit. Mark Leonard getting a game. Really pleased to see that. And yeah, it's good to see the two strikers that needed not I wouldn't say Duke needed a goal, but it's nice to see Dykes and Duke get a goal. I was really pleased with that. We may as well on that mention who we got in the third round. You may have, I mean, my message in our group this week, Cal, after the FA Cup draw
yeah.
was, I think I'm right in saying it was the FA Cup can fuck off or something.
It
What
was
was
like,
it?
well, I remember your one in January when you said the magic of the cup is dead, and then Ipswich got knocked out by Maidstone not 24 hours later.
True. I mean,
Um,
the FA, I of course don't want the FA Cup to F off. I love the FA Cup, but I think it's just we never get good draws ever. We got Lincoln at home, and I was telling you before we went live, like that means a league game that weekend, which I could have gone to, has now been moved. So now I've got to pay to go to the cup game on that weekend instead against Lincoln at home. It's just I don't know. We never get an exciting draw.
it could
Um,
be worse. You could have had Bristol City, who
Bristol
you've
City.
seen play. Yeah,
Oh,
well,
true.
you've talked
Yeah,
about how
true.
you've seen
Yeah, yeah.
at least you haven't seen Blues play Lincoln that much, you
You
know.
know what? Silver linings. That's true. That is true. But yeah, so nice to get through. And another upside, hopefully on paper, we should win. And if it gives, you'll probably play Dykes again and Duke and whatever. It might be nice to see some of them players as well, hopefully. But can't take it too lightly. Lincoln, obviously, we've already played them once this season and not a bad team. Um, so yeah, back-to-back wins. That was really good. Good start to December. And then obviously on Wednesday night, we played Stockport at home. Stockport, it was actually third versus fourth. I know we've got games in hand, but Stockport under Dave Challoner started really well this season. Obviously, they got Louis Barry, so he's on loan from Villa, isn't he?
He's on loan currently, although it sounds like he's probably going to get recalled and sent out on
Yeah.
loan to the Championship in January because
Yes.
he's the top goal scorer in League One at the moment, isn't he?
He's been playing really well, yeah, and he played really well on Wednesday, I must say, in tough conditions. And they actually Stockport very nearly scored in like the first 5 minutes. He played an unreal ball to their striker. I can't remember his name, and he's just absolutely lashed it, and it's hit the bar and bounced down and came back out. And so that was right in front of us. So they had that, and then they had another brilliant chance right at the end of the first half where Ryan Allsop has made an incredible double save. The first one was from a Louis Barry shot. So Stockport, sorry, are a good team, and they're very strong, very physical, very fast, and I think they will do well this season. So I'm delighted that we did manage to get a 2-0 win against them. Putting
It
Alfie
could have been
May
a real
back as the
banana skin game. Not really a banana skin, but it would have been an easy game to have slipped up in at the moment.
absolute, yeah, 100%. Especially with like I know we'd won a couple of games before that, but considering we had our first sort of rocky patch in November, um, it's nice to get that. And I think Alfie May back as the number nine performed a lot better. He's back amongst the goals. Been a good while since he scored a goal in the league. I think maybe about 2 months. I think Huddersfield maybe was his last goal in the league. So I was really pleased to see that. Stansfield was more playing out wide left. Not sure how effective he was, but I think I think May as the nine is just that's where he's played his whole career. He scores goals. I don't really like him as the 10, and I've said that on here before. Thought Peck and Iwata were great. We do this sort of slightly odd thing now where Bielik is almost the right back now, and it kind of allows Cochrane to get a lot more forward on the left. But I'm not a huge fan of breaking up the Bielik Clara defensive partnership, but Ben Davies has been coming in and he's been excellent, so I don't really mind. And it was a good physical game. It tailed off a bit in the second half. But Stockport didn't really have their best chances were in the first half. Kind of frustrated me that we didn't kill the game off with the third. There was a really frustrating point at the end of the game where Kishi Anderson, who got two assists and had a great game otherwise, he kind of put in a showboaty cross and Stansfield had to do like an overhead kick and we nearly scored. And I'm like, why didn't you just put a proper cross in there and we would have, could have killed the game off. So we seem to do this. It's like, when I watched a lot of the Olympics this year, in the athletics, when they're sprinting, for some weird, I don't know why they do it. If anyone knows, let me know. When they're in a race, they always unless it's the final, they always kind of slow down as they're crossing the line. Like if they know they're going to finish first, they slow down a bit. And I was like, why would you not just keep sprinting all the way past? Like, you just to be sure. Blues are like that. We really start jogging before we cross the finish line. It's really I don't understand it. But regardless, a good win against a good team. Not like super exciting game or anything, but a good win. I couldn't help but think afterwards. Obviously, our game is so possession based, and I'm excited to see where it all goes. Part of me does think Tony Mowbray with this team and his style that we got to see a little glimpse of last season, that it would have been pretty special. I think it would have been really exciting. Just not quite that yet, but give it time. So yeah, puts us. We're currently third still, but I think Wrexham are. I think they're a point above us, but we've got 2 games in hand on them. I think, and Wickham are 3 points ahead of us, but we have a game in hand on them. They got a better goal difference than us, so we're in a good place still. Let's keep it going. Starting with Barnsley at the weekend.
Yeah, well, I might as well touch on our FA Cup third round since you've mentioned yours. So we have got obviously one of the ties of the round because we've been selected for television coverage, Dan. Friday night football,
Yeah,
ITV1, Aston Villa versus West Ham United.
bizarre pick. Why has that been
Why is it
picked?
on telly?
I'm sure that's like a math. Like they've looked at the analytics and like 2 Premier League teams tick.
Villa are in the
But
Champions League at that point.
yeah, but
Yeah, it's
absolutely
it's a
bizarre.
weird one because it's when you joke that the magic of the cup is dead when Newcastle versus Bromley isn't picked, but
That's
West Ham
mental.
Villa is. It's like,
I don't know if this game has been picked, but by far the tie of the round is Tamworth Tottenham as well. That should be really.
yeah,
I actually saw I think it was the Tamworth team bus. Me and my dad were over in Tamworth at the weekend and saw them on their way to the Burton game. But yeah, they obviously beat Burton and they are going to host Tottenham Hotspur in the third round. That is a really exciting draw for them. Good luck to them, to the Lambs. So yeah, keep
no
your eyes on that
replays
one.
as well.
No
So
replays. You never
so
know.
which is one of those, but there's been a lot of talk about that. And obviously the replays were so beneficial for the smaller clubs, but I would say no replay plays into Tamworth's hands.
Yeah,
The
even
whole
if they
fixture will
can.
be played at their ground, and if they do get like a freak result like Maidstone did against
Mm,
Ipswich last year, okay, Maidstone did that away from home, but even still, like we've seen it in the past, the bigger clubs or Championship clubs, Premier League clubs, they don't like going away from home in the FA Cup third round because
yeah,
you've got you've got nothing, everything to lose and kind of nothing to gain.
yeah. I think yeah, and I think if they can like hold it out to penalties even or something, like you never know.
Yeah,
Spurs as well, very flaky at the minute, It's
yeah,
perfect draw for them, really. So yeah, no, good luck to them. Should we touch briefly as well, Cal, just getting away from talking about Blues and Villa. We touched on it before. Frank Lampard, obviously, he
yeah.
is the commentary manager now. He's had one game. They drew 2-2 against Cardiff at home. What do we make of it all? I mean, I guess he didn't lose his first game. Just
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken about it already. It just doesn't make sense, does it? Why would you get rid of Mark Robbins for Lampard?
mm, they'll be lining
Right?
up
Or it's not
Martin.
like it doesn't seem like an upgrade. It's not like I guess when
Mm.
Southampton got rid of Nigel Atkins for Maurizio Pochettino, which with the benefit of hindsight, you go, oh yeah, that
Yeah,
was
of course,
obviously a
yeah.
really good thing to do. Or even when Bournemouth got rid of Gary O'Neil for Andoni Iraola, it's
Yeah.
obviously
In the
they
moment,
made
it
that
wasn't obvious,
change.
but
Yeah. Some people actually knew what they were talking about, but I don't feel like Frank Lampard has achieved anything really
no, no,
to be seen as a better option than someone like Mark Robbins.
no, not at
But
all.
maybe I'm
Yeah,
wrong. I don't know. It's got all the hallmarks of Rooney Zola written all over it.
yeah. And similarly, you mentioned the Gerrard Lampard thing, Villa Everton when it's Plymouth versus Coventry this season. That'll be on Sky, you can guarantee. If Rooney's still there by the
Well,
time
if
that
Rooney's
fixture
still
comes
there because
around.
it's obviously Colleen's in
Oh.
the jungle at the moment as well.
Yeah, I've heard she's been.
As of Friday, um, before the episode is aired. But like they obviously it's not him tweeting it, but they're like the people who have control of their social media are trying to promote votes for, and
Oh
so like
God.
there's a tweet was like vote for Colleen on his Twitter account, and it's like you're in a relegation battle, you might lose your job, maybe your wife trying to get votes for your wife on a reality TV show isn't really what we
Yeah,
should do.
it's stuff like that. I
But
think obviously he was only at Blues so briefly, but like it was little things like that I just found odd. Like not bad necessarily, and it's just part of it, I guess, with when a name like Rooney comes in. But But I don't know about you, Carl. You know, we say 2024 has gone. It goes flown by. You know, it's nearly over. It's
Yeah.
mad to think how quick it's gone. But Rooney got sacked on January 2nd. That feels
So
like so
it's
long ago.
mad.
That feels like so long ago that Rooney was on. We've had about seven managers since, to be fair. Um,
Yeah.
but cool. I think that's about it for housekeeping. Then, do you think, Carl?
I was going to say, do you want? Should we touch briefly? I mean, it might be outdated by the time Saturday rolls around. Well,
Yeah.
I suppose they play on Monday, but Gary O'Neil's looking in shaky ground for Wolves as well.
Yes. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Well,
It's
he
El
is on.
Sacco on Monday because it's West Ham versus Wolves.
Oh,
Lopetegui
okay.
and O'Neil, both of them clinging on by a thread at the moment.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a weird one though, because you told me Gary O'Neil, despite shaky ground, obviously has been nominated for Manager of the Month. I think you were
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Got to too much of a preview for the weekend's games, because obviously by the time people are listening to this, those games might have happened already.
I'm
But
just going to assume we won.
oh really? Who
What a
have you got this
great win!
weekend?
We got Southampton, and so
And that's
uh,
Saturday, three
Ma
o'clock.
Saturday 3 o'clock. Markers
Yeah.
applicable. What a great win! We are back. Oh
Ah,
man, it's all
absolutely.
going wrong, isn't it?
Yes, cut in the latter of those, hopefully. We have got Barnsley away on Saturday, also at 3 o'clock. Barnsley, I think they're about eighth or ninth. They're doing pretty decent. They're one of them typical League One playoff teams, aren't they? Every time they're in League One. Little side note, they've got obviously Mark Roberts playing for them now. Played for Blues for years as a centre back. Obviously, I think he left in the some. Did he leave this
Yeah, because
summer?
he
Or the year
played he
before?
played a couple of games at the back end of last year for you, didn't he?
I honestly like it just blurs into one. I can't remember. Did he leave? Was he with us last season?
Yeah,
I
I
honestly
seem
can't
to remember you
remember.
saying on the pod things were so bad. You're like, things are so bad that we're now playing Mark Roberts again.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I
I
think
feel
he
like
was
that
here
was,
last year. Yeah, I'm normally really
um,
good with stuff like that, but yeah, I think he was here last year. No, he definitely was, in fact, yeah. But they got Mark Roberts and the assassin in the box. Sam Cosgrove also plays for Barnsley now. Not to take the mix, he'll probably score this weekend. And I think he was kind of shafted by Blues, to be fair. Um, so keep an eye on that. We haven't played Barnsley for I think it was January 22 we last played them. They've been in League One for a little while. So first game for a few years against them in nearly 3 years. So yep, should be interesting. And then on Tuesday night we're back in action again. We've got Exeter in the newly named Virtu Trophy. So a repeat of our performance there the other week would be absolutely lovely.
and then on in midweek we play away at RB Leipzig, a team that we have played relatively recently, which was pre-season 2019. Um, I think they've lost all of their games in the Champions League this year, but
Yeah,
it's
Celtic beat them, I remember.
yeah, it's just difficult. It's just we've kind of had our easy games, so to
Yeah, sure.
speak, which is why the defeat to Bruges was a bit of a mess. I think we only need 1 point to automatically qualify for the next round of the Champions League. Um, should it all go wrong in the final few games? So we are going to qualify for the next round anyway, that playoff round. Um, but it's all about can we squeeze into that top eight because we're ninth at the moment on goal difference. Um, I think if you offer me a point at RB Leipzig, that's a really good point. I think it's a really, really good point.
Yeah.
Um, and then, we've got to aim to try and beat Celtic then in January and then see where we stack up against Monaco. Because it's funny because I was looking at the just before we kicked off against Juve, Monaco were in the earlier kickoff and they were winning against. I think they were playing Benfica, and they were winning, and they were top of the league, and they without losing a game. And I was saying to Dan, I was like, "Oh my God, we've still got to go to Monaco." Like we were looking at
Yeah.
that, going, "Oh yeah, we might get something there." And now all of a sudden they're gonna look like they might top the league, and then they threw it away and lost and dropped down a bit now. But yeah, that's gonna be a tough game when that rolls around. But Leipzig will be really difficult. Give me a point. I'd take that right now.
Yeah, I think that would be wise. I know they're not on a great run, but you never know. Away game. I think it's
Yeah,
kind
they
of the
did
same
lose 5-0
principle.
the other night.
Fair enough. But I think I kind of feel like these things. It's the same as like the league. Like win your home games, draw your away games,
Yeah,
and that's a point. Almost any point away from home is a point gained, unless it's against like I don't know. Derby
Shrewsbury.
2007. Shrewsbury. Yeah. Cool. I think that just about wraps us up there, Cal. And speaking of wraps, thank you to
I was
everyone
just
who
about
was.
to say,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, I won't steal your thunder then. Although I did a
No, no, no.
lovely
You
segue
can
there.
roll. You can roll with it while I get the stats up.
Sure, yeah. Thank you to everyone. Obviously, Spotify Wrapped came out. We got some nice stats. So we had quite a few people. We were their top podcast of the year. So thank you so much for supporting us. And I think I can't remember what the exact number was, but the increase in listeners this year compared to last year, I think it's like 133% or something increase. So
Yeah, it was massive.
Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate that, and obviously without you, we you keep us here, so we do really appreciate it, and yeah, so thank you so much. Otherwise, like, subscribe, handle Second City Pod, 2ND City Pod. Yeah, I think that's about it, isn't it, Carl?
Yeah, the one stat I wanted to say was just sort of so it was just a big thank you to those people that were I think we were their top podcast. I think it was we had 6 people who were our top fans, and then we had 21 people we were in their top 10, and
Oh, awesome.
31 people who we were in like their top 15 or 20. So it was just for those people, thank you very, very much for this year and for the support. And our best episode, our best performing episode of the year, why is it never us?
Why is it never us? Lovely. That was, well, I suppose we've just been relegated. That's why everyone tuned in. That week. Yes, thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. Everyone tuned in to see me cry that week. Fair enough. Um, cool. Hopefully we'll be back next week. I know your schedule is very busy at the minute and stuff, Cal, but we'll try and be back next week. So take care, guys, and we'll see you very soon. And up the Blues and shit on the Villa.
Hopefully see you next week, Dan, and up the Villa.